nurse told me that it was finally time to push, I had such mixed emotions. Like, first, you know that it's going to be the most painful experience of your life, but B, you know that soon you're going to meet your little one. Hey guys, my name is Amanda, and today I'm going to be sharing the birth story of my son Theodore. So he was born on September 3rd, 2021. He's almost 6 months old already. It was 2 weeks and 1 day before my due date that I went into labor. The day started normal, and that evening me and my husband actually went to a young adults evening, so I had enough energy to even go out and socialize, and we were playing like a get to know you game where you were sitting up and down like constantly, and so I think that might have put me into labor. I suddenly felt the urge to go pee, so I just stood up and walked out of the room, and as soon as I was out of the room I just felt this gush, and I knew instantly that was my water, because yeah, I did not feel like I peed myself. It felt like a gush of water, and thankfully I was wearing black leggings so you couldn't see it, but I awkwardly walked back into the room and told my husband, like, it's go time. And yeah, I wasn't in any pain at that point, so we decided to go home and just finish packing our bags. So we probably spent 20-30 minutes at home, took a shower, packed our bags, and we just called the hospital that I was supposed to give birth at, and it turns out they were closed for the weekend. So it was Labor Day weekend when I went into labor, and apparently this hospital didn't have enough staff or something. So that was extremely nerve-wracking. I remember just being like so shocked and like angry that the hospital could close. But anyways, God had other plans, and yeah, I ended up going to the small hospital in our town, and they checked me over, and they weren't able to deliver babies. So they ended up sending me in an ambulance to a different hospital that was 2 hours away. The reason I went in an ambulance was just because Theo's heart rate was a little bit consistent, and they didn't want me and Malachi on the road and all of a sudden baby's heart rate drops. So yeah, I was definitely in pain by then. It started cramping and feeling that contracting feeling, but very controllable, I would say. Yeah, the ambulance ride was not pleasant because it was so cold and like bumpy in the back. So by the time I got to the hospital I was delivering at, they kind of just did an overall checkup, checked my cervix, went through my birth plan, and I think I was 2 centimeters dilated at that point. Yeah, and I forgot to mention, I went into labor at, it would have been like 8 or 9 p.m. on a Thursday night. And so by the time, I got to this hospital, it was already like 1 or 2 in the morning, I think. Yeah, so we got all settled in our room. I kind of went in with the hope of delivering naturally, but I also kept an open mind to using medication if I needed. So the first, I think 12 or 13 hours, I didn't have any medication. I used an exercise ball. I went in a big like jet bath twice, I think. And those things helped, but they definitely didn't take away the pain by any means. Yeah, so around 11-12 hours I was getting really exhausted. I hadn't slept at all, and so we asked the nurse about just some options other than the epidural. I was pretty adamant I didn't want the epidural just because I wanted to feel Theo come out. Like, I actually wanted to experience that pain. Yeah, so I decided to take some morphine, which was just an injection, and it lasted for about 2 hours. And it did not take away the pain, it just kind of subsided it. Is that the right word? Took the edge off the pain. So I was able to have like a 45-minute nap, and I think that was essential to just giving me the energy to like go on. I forgot to mention this, but before I decided to take the morphine, hi buddy, I had a really low moment, like probably one of the harder moments in labor. So I'd been laboring again for like 11 hours, and I was pretty sure I was at least like 5 or 6 centimeters dilated. And this nurse comes in and checks me, and I was 3 centimeters dilated, or 4, I couldn't remember, but it was so insignificant, like it hadn't changed for hours and hours and hours. And I just started bawling in front of her. I was so discouraged and just confused. And that's when I decided like I needed help, because we had a long ways to go still. And I'm so glad that I did take that. Yay, do you want to say hi? I was very nauseous at this point, so I remember trying to walk down the hallways, and I would make it like, I don't know, 15 feet, and I'd have to lean over a wall and just have a contraction, and I threw up a few times, and that was just awful. Like, I felt disgusting. You can't even walk, you can't sit, you can't lay down, like nothing is comfortable in labor. Yeah, but I just had to keep on moving so that the baby would come out. But I did take, I think, 2 or 3 shots of that near the end of my labor, and that just helped, again, me get through to the end. It just kind of gives you a little break just to catch your breath. And again, you still feel the contraction, but it doesn't feel like you're necessarily gonna die or whatever. So yeah, then it's all of a sudden probably 4 or 5 p.m. and the nurse checked me, and I think I was 8 centimeters dilated. And so she decided to move me into the delivery room. Yeah, so that was super exciting, because then you know it's like, it's go time. I was in the delivery room, I remember really needing to pee and also feeling like I had to poop, and that is a sign that it's like time to push. It is hard to push when your bladder's full, I don't know quite the anatomy of that, but yeah, I tried to pee and I just couldn't, so they did have to put a catheter in me, which I didn't want, but you know what, it was needed in order for me to push. So they put a catheter in me, and then it was go time. She said I was 9 centimeters, I think, 9 or 10. And she said, it's time to push. And those are some of the most exciting and scary words that I've ever heard, because you know that you're gonna meet your little one soon, but you also know that it's gonna be the most painful moment of your life. For pushing, I did end up trying a few different positions, but ultimately, like, laying on my back, kind of the old style pushing position, was what felt the best for me. So that is what I delivered Theo in. I ended up pushing for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. I had extreme back labor the whole time, but that was the most painful thing about birth for me. Was between every push, I had extreme cramping in my back. So I would push, and then between, like when I got to take a break, it wasn't a break. Instead, nurses or my husband would just be pushing on my back just so I could have some relief. Yeah, all the medicine had worn off by the time I was pushing. Right before pushing, I had just kind of said to the nurse that I wanted an epidural, because I was just done. I was exhausted. But funny thing, they just could not get a hold of the anesthesiologist, and so it wasn't an option for me. And I'm thankful for that in hindsight, because I didn't originally want the epidural, but at the time it was very tragic, because I felt helpless, like the amount of pain I was in, and just the fact that I couldn't get any relief. Because once it's time to push, you're not able to take morphine or fentanyl or any of those drugs. It's either like you go natural or you already have the epidural. But yeah, the pushing went well, I would say. I had like probably 5 nurses in the room with me, and my husband. My husband was right beside me, and he was amazing. Yeah, all of a sudden the doctor kind of stood up, and she said that in a few pushes he was gonna be there. So when Theo was getting very, very close to crowning, the doctor kind of stood up and told me, like, I want a couple more pushes and he's gonna be out. And that was so exciting. I was like, oh, all this adrenaline is just going through you. But yeah, the Ring of Fire is no joke. Oh my word. I remember just like screaming and gripping. There was this poor little nurse beside me, and I like probably scratched her up while he was coming out. And yeah, this is a bit graphic, but like when he came out, it literally felt like a water slide. Like, I thought it would just be a bit more dry than that, but it was like this big gush and just this big release. Like, I cannot explain unless you've had a baby. And then all of a sudden, before I know it, this little baby boy is laying on my chest. So like every mom says, those moments were some of the most significant moments of my life, when Theo was first on my chest and just having that skin to skin contact, and me and Malachi, my husband, were just bawling our eyes out. It's inexplainable until it's your own child. After I gave birth to him, so I gave birth, I think it was like 7 p.m. and I had not eaten a meal for like a full day, and so my husband went out and got me some McDonald's, and oh my word, nothing has tasted better. So we sat in our room and ate our McDonald's together with our newborn baby, and it was so special, so precious, and also such a blur. So yeah, that is my birth story. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.